That's why I said no. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's what I said. So, our history, if you start writing about Indian history, of the Bharati history, it doesn't stop, it doesn't have a beginning, because we don't know when the Shastras have come, when the Vedic literature has come. So they could not be dated. It doesn't mean that if it is not dated, it's not there. Because I know my birth date, but my father doesn't know. I don't know about my father's birth date, my grandfather's birth date. So if you are recording now the date of birth of those who disposed. But that's only for purpose of getting property or winning the lawsuits. So this kind of things are there, because any ancient literature with us, it's very difficult to date them. It doesn't mean that it is not literature. Just refusing it as not, it doesn't belong to that. That category has to be questionable. So these writings are there since ancient times, maybe past, you can consider them as past, or maybe going into remote past where you cannot identify them. The dates cannot be identified, but the things are existing. When I am here, if I am not able to spell out my date of birth, then it doesn't mean that I am not there. I still exist. So our ancient literature has some meaning to carry on forever, because they only spoke about the truth, and the truth remains. That's why the truth is Ananta, truth is all time eternal. So that way the literature is everywhere there and available at any point of time to give us the guidance. So this kind of thing which continues forever have created long shades. If you take Veda has long shade, because spanning about yugas. So it's only your ability to see how long you can count these shades. So that kind of history, the nature of Bharati history is that, and it's very difficult to take a short view of when you are looking at Bharati history. That's okay, it's okay, but I can speak to you for hours together, and you can kindly bear with me for some time. But the problem is that time runs out. Time runs out. So we should only be careful about writing history of Bharat, particularly when you are looking about these things in view and keeping them in view. If you start writing history in a positive manner, I think you will be doing this dharma then. Because again, the same thing, dharma or dharma. If you are looking at it from different perspective, from European perspective, from African perspective, from American perspective, I think you are not doing justice to Bharat. The same case with every country. If you are looking at UK pre-Saxon UK, then what was UK? You have to look into the pre-Saxon UK from the UK's angle. About France, about any other country, even about US. US may be having 500 years old history. But what kind of US? US when it has formed into US, then you can form its history. But the land has not come up with the coming of US states. It has been there. So earlier, it must have been having greater civilization in the ancient times. So when you are looking at the past of a country, you must go into the roots of the country, and you should know about civilizations of that particularly the persons who are very familiar and who lived in the tradition, who lived with that literature, who lived on the lines of the literature. They are only able to do some justice to history. So I can go into details, but we don't have so much time with us. And our chief guest has also some urgent appointments. And not only chief guest, and our Professor Raghvendra also as chairman, he has some urgent meetings. I very graciously give them some time. Thank you.
धन्यवाद सर, हम आपको रोकना नहीं चाहते थे, लेकिन हमारे मुख्य अतिथि और हमारे चेयरमैन सर की पूर्व व्यवस्थाएं हैं इस कारण से जो हमें थोड़ा समय का ध्यान रखना पड़ा। इसके लिए बहुत बहुत खेद है, बहुत बहुत क्षमा है आपसे सर। मैं बिना देर किए हुए हमारे आज के इस कार्यक्रम के मुख्य अतिथि और इंडिया हैबिटेट सेंटर के निदेशक प्रोफेसर के जी सुरेश सर से मैं रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं कि वो आएँ और अपना उद्बोधन हमारे समक्ष प्रस्तुत करें। प्रोफेसर के जी सुरेश सर।
Thank you, Dr. Saurav ji. Today's keynote speaker, Honorable Professor Y. Sudershan Rao ji, respected Professor Raghvendra Tanwar ji, Chairman ICHR, my friend Dr. Omji Upadhyay, Member Secretary, ICHR, and Dr. Nitin Kumar, and all the esteemed members of ICHR who are present here, distinguished dignitaries, faculty members, research scholars, and friends. It is with a deep sense of pride and humility that I stand before you today on the 54th Foundation Day of the ICHR. I thank the chairman and the entire ICHR team for this gracious invitation. When an institution that has shaped the very contours of historical scholarship in independent India celebrates its Foundation Day, every Indian who values knowledge feels a sense of ownership and joy. And ICHR is not merely a funding body, it is the institutional conscience of our historical imagination, as rightly pointed out by Professor Sudershan Rao ji. Professor Tanwar, under your leadership and with the dedicated efforts of Dr. Omji Upadhyay and the entire team, ICHR continues to reaffirm its mandate to encourage, facilitate, and disseminate research that helps us understand who we are as a civilization. Today's theme, the eternal Bharat self, a methodological inquiry into our remote past. I would have loved to, I'm sure all of us would love to listen to Professor Rao for a longer duration, but a Foundation Day ceremony, I had other commitments also, so I requested, and he was gracious enough to accede, I must say, that to permit me to speak. And I can only tell you, Professor Rao, that I am going to compensate this with your lecture at the India Habitat Center, where everybody would be invited. Today's theme, as I said, could not have been more timely or more profound. We have seen Professor Sudershan Rao's work for many years, and as the former chairman, he has consistently championed the need for an India-centric, evidence-based approach to our ancient past. His presence here as a speaker itself is a celebration of continuity. Wherever I go, I feel very happy when I see, I was in a university recently for their Foundation Day, and I found them inviting their own former Vice Chancellor. I think that this is a very healthy trend, because often you see some people want to break the tradition, and I think that I welcome this, that this continuity should be there, because institutions are in continuum. One tenure cannot be in isolation, and I really congratulate Professor Raghvendra Tanwar and Omji for taking this decision to invite Professor Rao. So, friends, very quickly, to me, the concept of eternal Bharat self, I don't look at it as a slogan. It is a philosophical and historical reality wherein, as rightly pointed out, Bharat is not merely a geographical entity or a modern nation state, which Omji, very rightly through his citations from our ancient texts established. It is a living civilizational continuum that has preserved its core identity, its dharma, its knowledge systems, its cultural grammar across millennia, despite invasions, colonial interventions, and ideological contestations. Yet for long, the study of our remote past was filtered through colonial lenses that often reduced our antiquity to myth, our continuity to discontinuity, and our achievements to coincidence. The methodological inquiry that Professor Sudershan Rao spoke is therefore not an academic luxury. It's an intellectual necessity. And we need methodologies that respect the integrity of our resources, of our sources, whether it is the Rigvedic corpus, the archaeological continuum from Mehergarh to Indus Saraswati civilization, the Puranic genealogies read critically, or the living oral traditions that still echo in our villages and temples. A robust methodology must be multidisciplinary. It must integrate archaeology, genetics, linguistics, comparative philology, astronomy, traditional knowledge systems, including mass communication. I am a student of mass communication, and I believe that in our process for decolonization, it's very important that we communicate to the future generations about the facts and the facets of our ancient history, which have been either deliberately or unintentionally kept away from them. So it must reject both blind nativism and equally blind Eurocentrism. It must ask uncomfortable questions. Why did colonial historiography insist on a sharp break between the Vedic and Harappan phases? Why were astronomical references to our texts ignored for decades? Why do we still hesitate to take our own epics and Puranas seriously as repositories of historical memory? Even while we are accepting Greek and Roman myths as legitimate sources, the eternal Bharat self is not static. It's a dynamic and assimilative. It absorbed, transformed, and Indianized every external influence while retaining its civilizational core. That is why a temple in Cambodia, a university in Nalanda, a mathematical concept in Kerala, and a philosophical debate in Varanasi all speak the same civilizational language even after centuries. Understanding this continuity demands methodological courage, the courage to move beyond the comfort of dominant Western paradigms. As director of the India Habitat Center, I see every day how culture, history, and contemporary life intersects. Our built heritage, our performing arts, our literature, our festivals, all are living testimonies to that eternal self. Yet, without rigorous historical scholarship, these testimonies can be reduced to mere tourism products or political rhetoric. Institutions like ICHR exist precisely to ensure that our past remains a source of enlightenment and not of division. Professor Sudershan Rao's lecture provided us with fresh methodological tools and insights. I'm sure it will inspire the younger generation of historians present here to undertake research that is both scientifically sound and culturally rooted. Let me also congratulate all the young researchers who have received fellowships and grants from ICHR. I was delighted to see from Professor Dr. Omji's presentation here that even in mass communication you are going to talk about 200 years of journalism. And Udant Martand, we still continue to believe, because the slogan or the concept of Udant Martand was Hindustaniyon ke hit het. This was 200 years back, and that is the spirit that continues to guide our journalism even today. In fact, from here I am going to, to the award ceremony of the Ramnath Goenka Awards, the prestigious Ramnath Goenka Awards, and there also we have tried to reward those who have worked for the larger interests of the country. So I think that I congratulate you for that, very important project that you have taken up. You are the torch bearers of this eternal quest. The responsibility, the younger generation, is on your shoulders to rescue our history from ideological appropriation and academic neglect. Before I conclude, I wish to place on record my deep appreciation for the ICHR team, the scholars, the administrative staff, the coordinators, who work tirelessly, often behind the scenes, as Professor Rao mentioned, to keep this great institution vibrant. Friends, let me also confess that it is one self-interest or selfish interest which brought me here. मैंने पिछले एक वर्ष में भारत पर्यावास केंद्र में भारत बोध केंद्र की स्थापना की है, जिस पुस्तकालय में ज़्यादातर वेस्टर्न इन्फ्लुएंस की पुस्तकें रहती थी, वहाँ भारतीय सभ्यता, भारतीय संस्कृति, भारतीय कला, भारतीय धर्म, उपासना पद्धति, इन सब विषयों पर अभी आपको पूरा एक खंड आपको मिलेगा। हमने स्थापना की है। स्वामी विवेकानंद, श्री अरविंद, इन सबको भी देखने पढ़ने का अवसर आपको मिलेगा। यही नहीं, उस पुस्तकालय में जहाँ देश के, मैं कहूँगा कि बुद्धिजीवी वर्ग जहाँ बैठकर और पुस्तकें लिखते हैं, उस पुस्तकालय में हमने प्रयास किया है। पहली बार हमने भाषा विभाग शुरू किया है, जहाँ हिंदी और भारतीय भाषाओं में हमने पुस्तकें रखी है। हमने ICHR, ICPR के साथ, इंडियन काउंसिल फॉर फिलोसफिकल रिसर्च के साथ, हमने एक IHC ICPR स्टडी सर्कल, मंथली स्टडी सर्कल शुरू किया है, जिसके अंतर्गत हर महीने एक विषय को, हमारे दर्शन से संबंधित एक विषय को लेकर हम व्याख्यान रखते हैं। यही नहीं, हमने भारत बोध केंद्र के तहत संलाप यानी डिस्कोर्स, संलाप सीरीज शुरू किया है, श्रृंखला है, जिसमें हम अपने कला को देखना एक अलग विषय है, लेकिन उसको समझने का प्रयास करते हैं हम, चाहे वो नाट्यशास्त्र को लेकर कार्यशाला हो या उड़ीसी जैसे नृत्य के एस्थेटिक्स और थेरेप्यूटिक्स जैसे एस्पेक्ट्स को लेकर भी हमने वहाँ व्याख्यान मालाएं शुरू की है। और मैं यहाँ आपसे अनुरोध भी करने आया हूँ, सारे सदस्यगण, सम्मानित सदस्यगण भी यहाँ हैं, अध्यक्ष महोदय भी हैं, सदस्य सचिव भी यहाँ हैं, कि हम क्या ICHR के साथ मिलकर देश के जो पॉलिसी मेकर्स हैं, जो इंडिया हैबिटेट सेंटर के सदस्य हैं, हम उन तक पहुंचने का एक प्रयास कर सकते हैं क्या? भारत के इतिहास के ऐसे स्वर्णिम अध्यायों को लेकर क्या हम उनके बीच में जा सकते हैं? क्या एक मासिक व्याख्यान माला हम सहयोग के साथ रख सकते हैं क्या? मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप अवश्य इन विषयों पर विचार करेंगे और मिलकर, क्योंकि ये काम अकेले नहीं हो सकता है। द वर्क ऑफ डिकोलोनाइजेशन cannot be isolated. It has to be in sync with each other. We need to collaborate and cooperate, because it's a vexed and vicious circle, and we need to break that. And if we need to break that, then we need to work together, work in harmony. And I am sure that in this foundation year, we will be able to, and not just IHC, in fact, ICHR can collaborate with other universities as well. And rightly pointed out by Professor Rao that, ICHR was working very silently behind the scene, but since the time it started coming into the news the moment you took over, from there on it has not stopped, and for the right reasons also. And I believe that together we would be able to make a difference, because one is the textbook part, but for me as a student of communication, the most important part is the narrative part. What kind of narrative do our millennial generation, the Gen X, and now the Gen Alpha is going to talk about? That's important for me. So whatever be the text, what are the narratives that are going on, I think that can be influenced only through powerful communication. So the good work that you are doing out here has to be spread out, has to be told to the rest of the country and to the rest of the world. And I can assure you that we can be a very effective partner in that mission, and we look forward to greater cooperation. And once again, my heartfelt congratulations to the ICHR on its 54th Foundation Day. May this institution continue to illuminate the path of historical truth for many more decades. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.